After 1,220 days of waiting since the original announcement, one missed release date, a few missed release windows, What Up RG has finally dropped his debut album, New Hollywood. And it's for sure been a moment. Up until a few weeks ago, we knew very little of this project, when it was coming, what it sounded like, and now we have it. We've been listening for like 3 days now. And as far as reception goes, there's been a lot of people that are loving it. There's been a lot of people that are hating it. And today we want to talk about what we think. And welcome to CHH Hysteria. I'm your host, Cole.
And I'm your co-host Cooper.
And we brought on a good friend that everyone's probably familiar with if you watch our show, Apex Frazier. You know, he's been on a million times. But thanks for joining us again.
Thank you so much, bro. I'm so excited to be on this episode.
Yeah, it's weird to think that we're actually making this episode because we've been waiting
Surreal.
so long for this album, and it's felt like it's gone through so many things like to get here. So I'm excited to finally talk about it. Cooper, do you want to start us off like with some of your initial thoughts on New Hollywood?
Yeah. I really enjoy this album, I'm gonna be honest. Like this album is really, really good. Just like there's no skips at all. Like I'm not the hugest on interludes, just like in terms of just listen through, like a lot of times I just find them like I get they're important, but that's also like if I'm listening through an album, like not for the first time, usually I end up just skipping them. But these interludes, I don't know, I feel like they're short enough and they're interesting enough that I don't think I'll find myself skipping them if I ever like sit down and listen to the album. Um, and I just think this album is really, really unique. I feel like the sounds that he uses like a lot of like I don't even know how to describe it. I think it's like a lot of it feels like a lot of guitar or like kind of that like string
He
kind of.
does use a lot of guitars in this. Yeah.
So like, and I love that. Like, I feel like that really like adds to it. It's very diverse. Like, I feel like there's a lot of different sounds going on, and I love like the sound effects that he uses on like the song that he like uses like where the audio like bounces back in between your ears.
The panning, yes.
Yeah,
The
super
panning
cool.
is crazy on this album.
Yeah. On Need You, like where it's
Yeah,
going back
Need
and
You,
forth the
yeah.
vocals, that was sick.
That was so
sick.
cool.
Yeah, it's fire.
Yeah, just the whole album is super good. Yeah, some favorites like Human was really good. Need You was really good.
Love Need You, yes.
Melatonin with 350 was fire.
Yes, sir.
Hollywood was really, really good. Like that, near the end, that kind of like, I don't know, like what is it, second to last song, I think is what it is, besides Praise. Was super, super fire. Praise is also really good, with all those verses. It feels really good, like having it's more of like a bonus track, I guess, but it's a really good bonus track. It's just, him and his friends just praising, so.
Right, yeah. Praise does feel a lot more like a bonus track than it feels like the outro. I feel like Kids Again is kind of the outro, and then Praise is the bonus. I don't know if that's how he meant it, but like when I listen through, that's just kind of how like I feel it.
Yeah.
I feel like Kids Again is when the album really ends on mine, but then like you get like that last like 6.5 minutes of just 10 people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which is cool. But Apex, what are your thoughts on the album?
Yeah, man. We waited forever for this one to drop. Wasn't sure it was actually coming out, but I called Cole just to like peel back the curve for people listening. I called Cole Thursday night. I was like, yo, are you doing a reaction video tonight? He's like, nah, probably not. I was like, what about tomorrow? He was like, maybe Monday. I was like, can I please be on it? So that's why I'm here. RG is like one of my favorite artists all time already.
Same.
Listening to this album was like such a journey. It reminded me of like a solid mix of '07, Oh Shake, meet Swimming by Mac Miller, meet Jesus by Kanye. So I loved all of that, of course. I love like the innovation. I totally understand why maybe some more like rap fans weren't really that big on it, because while it's still very much a hip hop album, it's not so much a rap album. I think it kind of like uh, differs from that path, which I'm cool with. I feel like that's kind of where hip hop's going. It's nice that CHH isn't behind for once in this. But man, like you, Cooper, I loved Human. As soon as I heard it, I was like, Andy wrote this, sure enough. You can tell from that bridge, bro. Like it's so like the sword vibe for me. I also love Need You. Need You was super good, like you were saying, with the panning and just like the vulnerability. Overall, bro, it's weird because I initially thought that Praise was also a bonus track, but listening back, it's kind of like you can convince me that it's a resolve to the album
Mm.
too, because this album's talking a lot about struggles and everything RG's been through the last several years. And I think having praise at the end to like literally say turning our pain into praise, like that can kind of play twofold into that. So yeah, man, it was
Yeah.
interesting. While we're talking about praise though, Ace, if they're not demons, what are they? I really got someone tell me. Y'all know that meme? It's like regular show Mordecai. I guess it's a meme if it's a video still. But Mordecai is like, but the host. That's how everybody felt listening to this song, bro.
Oh, bro, yeah, that's funny. Yeah, going off the praise thing that you're saying, um, I do agree that like it kind of does have a lot of resolve to the album. I guess when I said like it feels like a bonus track, is it almost sounds less like an outro and more like a bonus, but like the content
Yeah.
is more like an
Oh, for
outro,
sure.
if that makes sense. So like it's kind of
Yeah.
both, but like I don't. I would be curious what like it's officially thought of as in RG's mind. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
'Cause I
Yeah.
could
For
see it
sure.
going either way. Yeah, I'm glad that you guys both love Need You because from like the first listen, that was already one of my favorites. And I remember like day one, I was talking to some people, and like three people I talked to, they're like, that one's like one of the weaker ones. And I was like,
What?
am I just going crazy?
Nah.
But like, that's
I'm
like,
tripping.
yeah, Need You is one of my favorites. Melatonin, I love that one. I also love Running. Running is just like, I don't know how to describe it. It's just like a build up of beautiful, yeah, then like when like the beautiful, like super luscious pad comes in and it's just like so full like and then like it starts off so empty and so full like I just loved it and that's something I
Yeah.
appreciated about like the production overall in this project is I felt like there was a lot huge sense of progressions in the sense that like like there was a lot of elements coming back and forth in but like it felt like when the second verse came in or when something like it was always kind of switching and keeping interesting like just the beats like even if RG didn't like rap over it differently. It felt like the beats were switching in and out a lot, which I really appreciated.
Yeah.
I thought was nice. And there was a lot of beat switches, like the end of Human when I first listened, like that blew me. I was like,
Yeah.
oh crap, like because it was like this like
Yeah.
more rock RG, which was super fire, and then all of a sudden Ramar Jesse comes in
Yeah.
and like
Yeah.
raps his
Shout
butt
out to
off. That was
Romar, bro.
crazy. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I love that. I did not see that coming
Yeah.
at all.
I totally feel what you're saying with like how the production built. It's like nothing was forced. And I
Mm,
think that's part of the reason why some people didn't love it. They expected it to be like this overblown, like everything's distorted type of like album. And I
mm,
think I don't know if I'm the only one who thought this or if there was some word out there, but I thought some of the themes from Raul would come back sonically and like message wise, and they really didn't whatsoever. This was more of like just an experience as opposed to a story as much. And I
right.
think that's part of the reason why the production sounds so different. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and like we were kind of talking about how there's like a lot of variety because there's like you have like a Ready that's kind of like a I don't know, like pop space thing.
Oh yeah, I love
Which
that song
freaking
too.
love that song. Then you got more like rap stuff. Then you got like the rock. You got like a lot of variety in styles and sounds, and which I really appreciate. But like the production kind of all put it together because even though they're all different, like these different genres, there's certain things that really kept it together. I felt like used a lot of like synth arps and like the guitars and stuff like really helped it feel like an album and like a full experience like like when you listen through the album like you feel like all the songs while like being really different all felt like they belonged on there if that makes sense
It doesn't feel like a collection of singles.
right or like forced like Apex said but yeah
Yeah,
what are so we've been kind of like giving this album a lot of praise like I didn't mean it like that
yeah, you
because
did.
like like you said there's no skips for me really either but Apex I know you're kind of saying you already played devil's advocate so like what are
Yes,
some
sir.
of like things that you weren't as big on for the album.
Yeah. I mean, really, I was just trying to throw you off. I love this album. It's a great album. But something that just bothers me
Mm.
is 285, the main synth pad, is the same synth that I use on Politics from Anxiety 4 years ago. So personally, I can't enjoy that song because I just think of like my old music and how cringy it was. So
That sucks. 'Cause
that's
that
kind
song's
of a
great
negative
if
for
you don't
me.
have that.
I
Yeah.
appreciate it. But like, no, hey, it's cool that me and RG had the same taste though. I mean, that's something, right? But no, bro, like I do feel like as good as his album is, I don't fully understand it yet. And that's not
Mm.
necessarily a negative. I actually really like that. I like that you have to listen to certain projects a lot to fully get it. And since one of the taglines was the ever evolving album, I'm interested to see if it actually changes, like the songs or the content or whatever, the mixing. I want to see if it changes and gets re-released like Donda or like, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel like we will continue to experience new Hollywood. Like it's not gonna
So
be like a one-time thing.
about the like a continued experience, Griff sent me. I'm blanking on her name, but his girlfriend, who also makes music, said that her upcoming project like continues the story of New Hollywood. So I feel like,
Cassandra.
and yeah, Cassandra, thank you. Um, or she had a tweet. I can we can put a screenshot of the tweet here. I can't remember exactly word for word what it says, but yeah. So I feel like, but for like when I first heard the ever evolving world of New Hollywood, my first thought was just because like it's gone through so much,
Right.
um, and but I didn't even think about the idea that maybe he might do some changes to it, which would be interesting to see if like we
Nah.
get
And bro,
additions or something.
I don't know if this is anything or if it's just like Paris messing around, Paris being Paris. But whenever RG posted that it was out, Paris said like my favorite song is Proudly, which isn't a song on the album. So I don't know if that's something that got cut, something that we'll see later, or if it's just nothing. But that's a little nugget to hold on to.
Yeah, I've been kind of like hoping that we'd get some sort of like a few of the single, not single, just a few of the songs that didn't make it to New Hollywood, because I know he probably
Yeah.
has extra music, and I think that'd be really interesting here. Maybe that might play into it, even like
Yeah.
because there's probably songs that maybe were really good but didn't fit thematically or didn't
Well,
fit.
like Beautiful. I knew Como Yo and Beautiful probably wouldn't be on the album because they
Right.
were leaked and Reach didn't like Reach took the leaks down for Melatonin and Kids way back when.
Hmm.
But they didn't take these down, so I kind of figured they wouldn't be on there.
But like these are
But I'm
posted by RG
excited.
himself too. The other two.
Yeah, but not like they're not like on any of RG's pages currently.
Oh,
It's
true.
just
That is
like
true.
someone else peeped them. But I'm excited, bro. I've been doing this thing with albums recently where I'll make like a Taylor's version, where basically like I'll change the track list and like add stuff that I think. And I have a couple ideas for New Hollywood, bro. Save Us. That sounds like it could slot in perfectly right before Praise. You know
With
what
the
I mean?
longer RG verse though,
Bro, if I can
because
get my
the one
hands
on
on
IG
it.
was insane.
I know. I was literally thinking about that yesterday.
Yeah, it's unfortunate we never got like a full version of this, of that like released. I wonder if we will. But I feel like people are kind of talking about it being on. Wait, that's a whole bunny trail, anyways. But Cooper, were there any things for you that you weren't feeling as much for the album, or
Honestly, not really. Like there was nothing like through my couple listens through that I've had. There hasn't been anything that I haven't liked. Like everything I've liked, and like yes, there's been things like that I haven't been total like not as like I haven't like nearly like not as much. And honestly, it's very very select. Like it's just a couple of things. That's very very small nitpicks. But like everything is super solid. Everything's like I just don't honestly like this album is the closest that I've heard to perfect. To be honest, like it's been a long time since I've heard something this good.
Whoa.
And
that's
like,
big, bro? You give it 10 out of 10.
That's
Okay,
that's
okay.
a big word,
in
Cooper.
his,
That is big words.
Like I was reading Lecrae's interview with Rapzilla today, and he literally called it perfection. And there, so I'm like, yeah, I can totally see that. So
Yeah, I do have one more thing I forgot to say. I was having a conversation with a mutual friend of ours. I'm not gonna say his name because I don't know if he wants it out there. But we were
I'm
talking
guessing it's the
about
same person I
album,
talked to.
maybe.
But
And he mentioned like how off-putting Beam's verse on Sober was content-wise. And I went back and listened, and I was like, yeah, I can totally see it because it's kind of like opposite. At least the way that it was conveyed is kind of opposite the P's verse, and that could totally be intentional with like a yin and yang thing that RG was doing. But I guess it does kind of jar a little bit if you focus on lyrics more than the overall scheme.
that makes sense. I'll have to go back and check too, because like you said, Sober is one of the ones that I feel like I'm least familiar with at this point. It's one of the ones I don't like. I haven't been playing as much. I played through the album just over and over. I probably listened like 15, 20 times, just because I work from home is overpowered. So I don't know the lyrics super well, but I get the sound.
I feel you.
You know what I mean? But I feel like Sober is one of the ones I haven't been adding to queue as much. So I feel like I'm not as familiar with what that's saying. So that'd be interesting.
It's a
I should
good
definitely go
song.
back.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
it
like
was
it. I
cool
do
to
like
hear
it.
Beam on his CHH album again.
It was cool. It was cool, and just not like production. because like I mean not
Right.
just
Yeah.
production. It was cool to see him like actually. When was the last time he was on like Social Club, like Dive or whatever? Was he
When
on a
was
song?
that? When was
That was
that?
like 2018.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, that's crazy. It's been a minute. But yeah, when it comes down to it, like the things that like I can't really say what I really don't like about the album
Yeah.
yet, which is hard. Because I want to try to be objective about it, right? So but it is really honestly the best CHH album I've heard in the 2020s.
Yeah.
And it's the like I have not enjoyed an album this much since Donda. So like that's pretty big words. So that's what I'll say about that, right? So like it's really
I
good.
would say New Hollywood's better than Donda, in
And I would
my
probably
opinion.
agree with that too. I really would.
Yeah, probably.
Which is also crazy because that's one of my most listened to albums of all time on Last FM.
It was cool to hear Cassandra and RG on a song together.
It
was
was.
pretty
I
cool.
agree. Yeah. So what are you guys's like? What were some of you guys' favorite moments of the album then? Like, if you could pick some like parts, like when you're first listening, like what were some like the parts, or like what were some least expected parts? You know?
Least expected was like all of Human. Just like
Mm.
I knew New Hollywood would be different, but that's like almost a straight up rock song, and I love that. I love
Right.
that. And Romar particularly, like that was super unexpected how he came in there. So I love that. And then honestly, like I don't know. I just feel like hearing 350 on Melatonin, even though I had heard it before and I knew he was on it, whenever I heard that song, like listening for the first time, I just got so hyped, you know?
Mm.
The official version.
What's crazy about Melatonin is I really wanted for me, like I've said it before, is that like the first time I listen to an album is like really important for me. So like I don't listen to any leaks. So I never heard Melatonin. I waited this whole time to actually listen to it.
Whoa,
And
really? I didn't know
I'm
that.
really happy I did. Because again,
Yeah.
now I get to enjoy it like with the full album, and that's like I know it's weird, but that's just how I am. So like I'm happy that I didn't listen. So but yeah, I agree. Melatonin was like it's top 3 for me personally on there. But one of my favorite moments I feel like was just the whole song of Need You
Yeah.
and like Running. Like the first time you hear those 2 tracks, I was just like, and like I loved what he did with like a lot of like I feel like he experimented with his voice too. Like there was just
Yeah.
like
Oh, yeah.
like every song he sounded a little bit different on, and like I just really really enjoyed that, and I kind of expected that, but not to the extent that he gave, if that makes sense.
Yeah, well, he had a bunch of artists work on this album with him. You saw the credentials and all that, I'm sure.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
and Ty like A&R the whole thing, and there's
Busy
totally
man.
like holy influences in some of the vocal performances. So, yeah, it was really cool to hear him just kind of like be RG, but still pull everyone else in and kind of like put on for the community in a sense.
Yeah, so like one of the final things I want to talk about is I remember a conversation you and I had, Apex, I think it was actually on here, is that we hadn't heard RG on an album yet, and we were really excited to hear like RG on an album, like an album form, because both Raul and Pleasant Hill was like super special. So like, what do you think of album RG? Was it worth the wait? Like, is it as good as you expected? You know what I mean? That sort of stuff.
That's difficult because I'm pretty sure, was it last week I told you and Tyson, I was like, New Hollywood is probably going to be the best Christian hip hop album ever.
Right.
That's obviously a lot of pressure to put on someone's debut album, but
For sure.
the 2 EPs and the singles were like so special. Like you just knew like RG had something different about him. Did it live up to the hype? Like I said, I still don't fully understand the album, so I think I can't answer that until I do. I really like it. I think it has the potential to, but we're recording this on Monday. It's only been out for 3 days now, so
Right, it's
I feel
hard to
like
do,
I
like,
just
a
can't give a
review.
valid answer. Yeah,
No, I agree with what you just said. Like for me, like it did, like for like live up to the hype. I just really wanted something great, and like you said, I don't fully understand the album either. So like that's what I also really like that because I get to go back and like always finding something new, which is cool. And like I really just wanted some really good music to like vibe out to, like a full album listen through that I can just
Yeah.
listen through whenever I want, because you don't get that as much anymore. And like an album that like
No.
feels like an album, not just like, and you don't really get that in CHH much anymore, especially.
no. And RG
that's what-
did everything that I wanted him to do. Like he
Right.
was very vulnerable, very honest, and very mature. And like I feel like that's where CHH needs to be right now. At the same time, very experimental. At the same time, had jams, because I show people like people who aren't necessarily Christians, the two CHH artists I always show them are Andy and RG. And so that's why I'm like
Those are
so
good
hyped
ones,
they
for
finally
sure.
worked on a song together. I'm gonna show everybody human, like no matter who they are. I feel like any demographic can really rock with it.
Right. Or like half the songs on here I feel like are really good. Like, like
Yeah.
Melatonin I could show like all my friends or So yeah, I agree with everything that's been said. Like, the album's amazing. I'm super happy with the album. Definitely my personal favorite album that's come out this year. Um, which I know some people might agree, disagree with. Like I think Apex a little bit ago said something about how like it is like how it's not a hip hop. I mean, it's not a rap album as much. And I've seen people be kind of like upset over that. Like in the Discord or even someone I talked to in real life, he was not upset, but he was just like it was so much different than I expected. I need to go back and re-listen because I didn't expect that, and that's exactly what I wanted from New Hollywood was something unique and nothing like I've heard in CHH before. And like I think he was totally right with calling it just like a Christian album and not being like this is a hip hop album or a Christian hip hop album because like it's just an experience. And I'm super happy with New Hollywood. I I cannot like I'm just I cannot explain it. You know what I mean? So yeah, what are you guys' final thoughts?
Yo, I don't know. Like, shout out to RG for being the blueprint of just no more mid, keep innovating. And but I'm serious, bro. Like,
No, for real.
this is a conversation I just had with Saya and Hylam and them. Like, at this point, we can't afford to be mid. We got to keep innovating. We got to keep being genuine in the art that we make. And I feel like RG's, taking a huge step just as his own artist to be able to do that and show other people what it looks like. So
I agree. I agree. Cooper, what are your final thoughts?
This album is amazing. RG.
Is it perfect?
I think Lecrae was completely right in calling this album perfection. Overall, I think I'll give it a 10 out of 10.
Common the Cray W.
Yeah. Common Lecrae dub. But yeah, this album is definitely a 10 out of 10. If you haven't listened to it, listen to it. No matter what you believe, just listen to it.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys for watching the video. Be sure to leave a comment letting us know what you guys think of New Hollywood, what your favorite songs were, all that good stuff. And Apex, thanks again for always coming on. See you next
I
time.
appreciate you. Hey, RG, if you're watching this, send these two boys a signed vinyl.
Oh, I love you, RG.
They're your biggest fans.
You too.